Can I start with a prayer? My version of prayer. These are my conversations with God. I don't recall ever feeling separated from that sacred thread within me, Lord, not really. And I'm not sure why. I've struggled with wondering where I belong and what to do next, but it never occurred to me that you dropped the ball on guiding me to my next stage of life, Lord. It never really occurred to me. I think I was born without ordinary appetites, and in that odd way, guidance was woven into my life. I've learned you have an organic voice. You guide us through the way of our own nature. I recall being mystified by my friends who knew they would be mothers even before they met their mates. But motherhood was indeed a natural part of who they were. It was organic to them. I never had that organic impulse guiding me, so I watched motherhood from afar, never craving the need to give birth. But I craved giving birth to books, to words on paper, incarnating the visions that electrified my imagination. Everyone craves their natural path, their way of their own nature, and you are hidden along that path. Guidance abounds in that inner labyrinth. We crave to know what we're meant to give birth to in this life, to create, to bring to fruition. Each of us, I believe deeply, longs to belong and to become fully whole with oneself. I think that craving distractions such as stuff, alcohol, drugs, are a way of avoiding encountering the power of our own nature and ultimately you, hidden in our blood and bones. There's no way to avoid that encounter with you, is there? One way or another, we are destined to meet. Amen. Okay. That's how you pray. That's how I pray. I'm going to start this morning and direct you into the subject of what is the God you know. How do you know the nature of God? Please don't let me slide off of this. And I think perhaps the way for me to discuss that is to share a little bit about my own experience as a way of sharing what I've observed about us. And that's that I think one of the things we share, I can't teach without a pen. I think one of the things we share is a need to see the divine in some way, as a way of saying, so there you are, and that's how you work. And so to that extent, I'm going to, isn't that lovely? These are your chakras, so I'm going to tell the story through you, because that's the best way of recognizing how organic God is. That God's in your blood and bones. That there is this thing you think is off planet that performs miracles, that's going to bend spoons, and then you're going to say, so there you are. You would not believe in that God anyway. You would find a reason not to believe in that God. Because that's the way you are. You are fundamentally skeptical, and pardon me, but I need a Kleenex. Oh, don't tell me. All right, thank you. You are fundamentally skeptical, and you find it as terrifying to believe in God as you are compelled to search for God. That is a paradox in you. And that is probably a paradox you haven't dived into to explore very deeply, to understand in you why you are as terrified of a divine encounter as you are compelled to look for it. But the nature of God is ultimately truth. Truth. And what I mean by that is that the nature of God is revealed in you, in the journey of you letting go of what you thought was true and allowing what is truth to speak to you. It starts out in baby ways, in ways that are not threatening, but the truth is that every act of revelation is terrifying. Every act. Think of your life. Your life, and this is the teaching of Buddhism, is all of our lives are built on illusions. And we will fight to the death to keep our illusions in place. That we'll always be free. That there'll always be water. That we'll always have the right to what? The right to what? The right to what? The illusions that build your life are extraordinary. And you will become more and more arrogant to hold on to those. You'll tell yourself more and more stories about how special you are, so that you can hold on to your stories. Because in your heart of heart, you know you're not special. You're just one more human being on a very short journey called life, and you're going to be gone. And as I tell people, if you want to see how truly unspecial you are, host your funeral. And see how few people come. And further, that the next day, their lives go on and they don't skip a beat after you're gone. They don't skip a beat. Life goes on and you'll see that you've made a very small impact. So trying to make a big impact ahead of time by screaming and yelling about how special you are does not help you. And it's not winning you friends. And that is the truth. So truth doesn't feel like our friend until you get used to its power, which is it pinches until you let it work. And the nature of God is that truth actually lifts the burden of you needing to be other than a humble human being, living a humble life for the duration of the time God has given you. And the journey of life is to actually get the ultimate paradox, that while we are very humble, we are incredibly powerful. But the paradox is that the power is not in how much you scream to be noticed, but how much you truly understand the power of all that is invisible in you and not visible. What is invisible in you, your soul, your character, your beliefs, all that is invisible in you is what is your powerhouse. What is visible. Now, for me personally, the irony of for me personally, teaching what I teach, I would have thought years ago that if I was going to teach anything on spirituality, it would have come down the track of my background in graduate school in theology and yada, 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 and my studies of all these great spiritual teachers and masters and blah, blah, blah. But it didn't. It didn't. What compels me to teach is my study of you. Of my study of you. Of all that I've learned as a medical intuitive. And how extraordinary we are. And that I can't stop talking about that. And how the nature of God was revealed to me through us. and that my understanding of the nature of God became more and more cosmic, less and less religious, more and more universal, more and more organic, more and more spectacular, that my beliefs in healing made sense to me, but not in the superstitious, you've got to light 1,000 million candles and you've got to blah, blah, blah. No. All the teachings of, for example, the teacher Jesus, who said, these and other things can you do, I finally got it. As much as I could get it as a human being, I finally got it. All the teachings of Buddha made sense to me through our bio-spiritual, organic, ecological system, which is what we are. That the more impersonal I began to see us, the more intimate God became. The more intimate. That we are two things. We are incredibly impersonal, incredibly intimate. That the power of prayer, I understood why. And I really got that we are so powerful on our interior that every word we say should be considered a prayer. Because every word is an act of creation. So while we have, while we have only applied that teaching to our health, we only apply it when we're sick, and then, like as a medical intuitive, when people will say, well, why am I sick? And we want this simple, basic formula. We have one problem, I want one solution, and I want out. I'm sorry, but we don't work that way. We don't work that way at all. You've got to get out of that. That's last year's model, and we will never go there again. And the truth is, you're a hologram. You have 1,000 million thoughts a minute. Which one of those do you think is responsible for why you're suffering? You have to make the great leap that you are a conscious being. So I just would like to share this story, a little bit of my own evolution, because I believe it's a story that all of you are on in part. I believe that because I think that the mystical path has adapted itself to our life. And in some way, we are now, all of us, mystics out of monasteries, but we're organic mystics. We're not ones that are going to seek monasteries, but that this earth will become a monastic village of sorts. That we will ultimately, not us, we will not live to see this. But what we are living to see is that the way of separation is not working. That what your body, a message your body has clearly received in a download, is all is one. That's the fundamental tenet of holistic health, is it not? Is it not? Well, you can't just take that truth and apply it conveniently to your health, can you? That is a truth. And that truth has to go with you wherever you go. Which means if all is one, you have to apply it and activate it in every thought form you have. That is your spiritual path. You don't get to pull it out and put it away. That's not the way truth works. Once a truth has been animated in your system, it becomes, and pay attention to this, an active agent. Which means it's now speaking to your bio-spiritual ecology. It's now active in your cell tissue. Which means that when you start fiddling with a thought that says, I'm superior to that person, what do you think happens? You think you're having a collision in your cell tissue? By any chance? By any chance? Do you think your need for superiority, your need to be first, your need to be better, that you think you're different than them because of whatever themness they have and thusness you have? Whatever issues you have in life that you think, well, my God is better. Why? Because my God is the best. Oh, really? 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 You like your stories that much? All of these are stories. Keep your stories, but knock it off. It's a costume party. Get over it. That era is done. And it does nothing but cause trouble now. We're done with it. Keep your Santa Claus, keep your villages in the desert, keep all of that stuff. You can have all of that. But if you think that's the truth, snap out of it. There is no God that promotes war. That's our handiwork. And you can stop asking, what kind of God does this? There is no God that does this. That's our work. Make sure you see our name on the weapons. Boeing and whatever. This is our moment of maturing, of growing up, of taking responsibility for. Do our egos create this world, or do our souls? Our consciousness is on the line. Being conscious is not about Jesus Christ recycling. We're going to get recycled if you don't snap out of it. I don't care if you recycle. I don't care what you do with your cups and your mugs and all of this. I'm so bored with that organic nonsense. What matters is whether you are living the truth. Whether you get that all is one and every decision you make in the world behind your eye follows that rigorous template of truth. And if you can even live that one, all is one, and it's going to break you in half getting there. Because that's the spiritual path. Because every part of you is going to say, I'm too proud to live this. But I've got to be better than. It's going to break you in half to even get close to living that truth. And that's the spiritual path. And that is what, as you heal yourself, as we heal ourselves, we heal the planet, because all life breathes together. All life breathes together.